Welcome back to WION World is One. You're watching Speed News with me, Vidur Kathuria. Let's get started. Iran is seeing the biggest protest yet of nearly 2 weeks of rallies. The movement, which originated with a shutdown on the Tehran Bazaar on 28th of December after the Rial currency plunged to record lows, has spread nationwide and is now being marked by larger scale demonstrations, including in the capital. Protesters marched on a key avenue in Tehran. Crowds of people as well as vehicles honking in support filled a part of the vast Ayatollah Kashani Boulevard. Videos circulating on social media show a building of Iran's state broadcaster set on fire in Isfahan, central Iran. A day after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis in Minnesota, U.S. federal agents have shot and wounded 2 people in the western city of Portland. The Minneapolis shooting sparked widespread anger over the increasingly militarized presence of federal agents on U.S. streets. The White House said the law enforcement was under organized attack as protesters clashed with officers. The U.S. Senate has voted on a resolution to curb Trump's war powers. Senators have voted to curtail these presidential powers with respect to any future military operations in or against Venezuela. Congressional lawmakers voted on Thursday. 5 Republicans joined the Democrats, bringing the vote to 52 for and 47 against. This advanced the resolution to bar the U.S. president from any further military action without congressional approval. However, Republican lawmakers against the resolution questioned its need and timing, saying that there is no ongoing military action that needs to be halted by a congressional vote. Venezuela has begun the release of a large number of prisoners, including both Venezuelan nationals and foreigners, a move that comes amid mounting pressure from U.S. The releases were announced by Jorge Rodriguez, the Speaker of Parliament and brother of interim President Delcy Rodriguez. He said that several Venezuelan and foreign nationals were being freed immediately in the interest of peaceful coexistence. However, Rodriguez did not specify which prisoners would be released, how many would be freed, or where they were being held. U.S. officials have now reportedly discussed sending lump sum payments to Greenlanders to convince them to secede from Denmark and potentially join the U.S., according to a Reuters report. The payment to the Greenlanders could range somewhere from $1,000 to $100,000 per person. Trump's renewed interest in acquiring Greenland from Denmark fits into a long-standing pattern in American history. Young people marched in western Caracas demanding the release of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores, who were captured by U.S. forces during a dramatic military raid in the capital city. Maduro faces trial in a U.S. court on drug and gun charges, to which he has pleaded not guilty. Demonstrators carried Venezuelan flags and signs reading "Free Maduro" and "No to the foreign invasion." Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez led a tribute ceremony honoring military personnel killed during a U.S. military operation on January 3rd that resulted in the capture of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores. Rodriguez stated that Venezuela would seek vindication through diplomatic means rather than revenge, telling the American people that Venezuelans did not deserve aggression from a nuclear power. Earlier, she had declared a 7-day period of national mourning to honor the young martyrs who perished during the U.S. military operation. At least 3 people have been killed in Russian strikes on Ukraine's capital, while 6 others were injured. The country's Air Force has issued a nationwide missile alert. In western Ukraine, a Russian attack hit an infrastructure facility in the Lviv region. The area's mayor said it would be up to Ukraine's military to determine whether Russian forces had deployed an Oreshnik missile. Syria's defense ministry has announced a ceasefire in 3 Aleppo neighborhoods. This is after deadly clashes between government forces and Kurdish-led SDF fighters killed at least 21 people. The defense ministry gave armed groups a 6-hour window to leave the contested areas. This was preceded by a fierce exchange of fire that extended into the night, with rescue workers scrambling to extinguish fires ignited by shelling. The death toll in the war-torn Gaza Strip has risen to 71,309 since the conflict between Hamas and Israel erupted on October 7, 2023. According to Gaza's health authorities, the number of injuries crossed 170,000. Palestinian sources say in the last 48 hours, hospitals in Gaza received 3 bodies, 1 newly reported fatality and 3 others recovered from the rubble, along with 7 new injuries. They claim remains of some victims are still buried under the rubble. Since the ceasefire agreement took effect on October 11, 2025, Israeli attacks have killed 425 people and wounded over 1,200. Meanwhile, nearly 690 bodies have been recovered so far. Honduran opposition lawmaker Gladys Aurora Lopez was injured after an explosive device was thrown near her at the National Congress, a national party said in a statement. Meanwhile, tensions remain high following the country's disputed presidential election. The Conservative National Party alleged the device was thrown by members of the ruling Liberty and Refoundation Party and said the blast detonated centimeters from Lopez, wounding her. French President Emmanuel Macron urged against the fragmentation of the global order, emphasizing the need for cooperation between the G7 and BRICS groupings, as France holds the G7 presidency and India chairs BRICS this year. Addressing the French diplomatic corps, Macron highlighted the importance of multilateral dialogue. Macron also described India, Australia and Indonesia as France's unprecedented partners in key areas, adding that these are solid partners in defense, security, artificial intelligence and climate change. Japan's government said that international trade should be smooth after media reports said China was delaying Japanese imports as well as rare earth exports as their 2-month-old spat escalates. This comes after Beijing announced to strengthen export control on dual-use items to Japanese military users. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed met with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, with both sides pledging to strengthen mutual support and the alignment of development strategies. Abiy asked Wang, also a member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, to convey his New Year greetings and sincere regards to Chinese President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang. Abiy said Ethiopia regards China as a trustworthy, close brother and strategic partner, noting that the two countries have long supported each other and that their bilateral relations are developing with strong momentum. Hong Kong's High Court will begin a 4-day mitigation hearing for pro-democracy figure Jimmy Lai in a landmark national security case that has drawn global attention on January 12th. Lai was found guilty of 2 counts of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and 1 count of conspiracy to publish seditious material. He faces a possible sentence of life imprisonment. Lai is the founder of the now shut Apple Daily newspaper and one of the most prominent critics of China's Communist Party leadership. He has faced a slew of litigation, including cases under the sweeping security legislation that Beijing enacted in response to mass pro-democracy protests in 2019. NASA has announced its Crew 11 mission aboard the International Space Station will return to Earth nearly a month ahead of schedule after a medical issue involving one of the astronauts. Agency officials say this is the first such emergency return in the orbiting laboratory's 25-year history. However, NASA officials did not identify which of the Crew 11 mission's 4 astronauts is experiencing the medical issue or describe its nature, citing the crew members' privacy. Emergency crews in Albania deployed boats to rescue victims of severe flooding after heavy rains caused the Vjosa River to burst its banks. Defense officials say the river had risen to over 9 meters, spilling out into low-lying farms and villages. Emergency services said they were working to remove water from around 800 homes and buildings and sheltering around 300 people in the army and police facilities. The Western Balkan countries have seen disruption from snow and other winter weather, with the closure of roads and railway lines, power cuts and drinking water affected. Snow and frost have turned Berlin Zoo into a winter wonderland. Cold-tolerant animals like polar bears, moose, and even the zoo's adored panda twins can be seen immersing in fun as thick snow covers the landscape. Most animals in the zoo do not hibernate or go into winter torpor. Instead, many species remain active in winter, provided they are adapted to cooler temperatures. Snow-blanketed streets in Walsall, central England, as Storm Goretti continued to bring wintry conditions to parts of northwest Europe. People walked and drove along snow-covered roads, with statues, vehicles and train stations dusted white as flakes continued to fall. Some residents braved the cold to play in the snow and throw snowballs, while others checked train schedules amid wider transport disruptions across the region. Cathay Pacific is launching a new cost-cutting push as it seeks to improve efficiency, asking all divisions to identify savings and slashing some jobs as part of its effort to rein in expenses. The Hong Kong carrier is tightening its belt amid a challenging aviation environment, focusing on trimming costs across the business to boost financial performance. While details on the number of jobs affected weren't disclosed, the move is part of broader steps to streamline operations and strengthen competitiveness as the airline adapts to evolving market conditions. Bond traders are bracing for a risk-filled session as markets kick off a key US jobs report that could swing Treasury yields and reshape expectations for Federal Reserve rate cuts, with traders passing mixed labor market signals and weak recent data. Sentiment is cautious heading into Friday's non-farm payrolls release, which investors see as pivotal for the 2026 rate path and market direction. Treasury yields and stock benchmarks have been choppy as traders balance weak employment indicators with hopes for future monetary easing. Mortgage bonds and home lender stocks surged after President Trump announced a $200 billion purchase of mortgage-backed securities through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, aiming to lower mortgage rates and ease housing costs. Traders welcome the move as a short-term boost for affordability, though experts warn it may have limited impact on long-term rates and won't solve broader housing supply challenges. The initiative underscores the administration's focus on tackling rising home costs amid ongoing market pressures. Colombian inflation has surpassed the central bank's target for the fifth consecutive year, driven by persistent price pressures across food, energy and services. Policymakers face ongoing challenges as they try to rein in rising costs while supporting economic growth. The prolonged overshoot complicates efforts to stabilize prices and maintain confidence in the country's monetary policy, leaving authorities to balance inflation control with broader economic needs. French health technology company Proceedings is betting big on longevity with the debut of the Body Scan 2 at CES in Las Vegas. The $600 AI-powered smart scale tracks over 60 biomarkers to flag early risks like high blood pressure and pre-diabetes, catching problems while they're still fixable with embedded electrodes, a retractable handle and phone syncing. It promises better aging through better data. Digital beauty brand iPolish is inventing solutions for forgotten salon appointments and commitment issues. The Florida-based company has unveiled smart color-changing press-on nails in Las Vegas that can flip between over 400 shades in as little as 5 seconds. Powered by nanopolymers and controlled by an app on the smartphone, the iPolish smart nails are like e-ink for your fingertips. The European Commission has ordered Elon Musk's social media platform X to retain all internal documents and data relating to its built-in AI chatbot Grok until December 2026. The move follows concerns over illegal content on the platform, including images of undressed women and children, which the Commission called appalling. EU spokesperson Thomas Regnier said the retention order does not mean a new formal investigation under the EU's Digital Services Act has been opened, but X must keep documents accessible if requested. According to the European Commission website, EU antitrust regulators will decide by February 10th whether to clear Alphabet's $32 billion acquisition of cybersecurity company Wiz, its largest deal ever. The deal, announced in March last year, is part of Alphabet's push into cybersecurity to strengthen its cloud computing business against rivals Amazon and Microsoft. The Commission can approve the deal, ask for concessions, or open a full investigation if serious competition concerns arise. The acquisition receives US approval last November. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Swedish automaker Volvo Cars is recalling 400,151 vehicles in the US, which includes 2021 to 2025 XC40 models, due to a rear view camera problem. The cameras may not display an image when the vehicle is put in reverse, increasing the risk of a crash. But Volvo has not received any reports of crashes or injuries related to the defect. The software will be updated free of charge, either by dealers or over the air in the coming weeks. This is the second recall for the same vehicle in the US, following an earlier recall in May 2025. India batter Tilak Verma has been ruled out of the opening 3 matches of India's 5-game T20I series against New Zealand later this month. While his availability for the remaining games will be assessed based on his progress during the return to training and skill phases, the 23-year-old, who underwent surgery for an abdominal issue in Rajkot, was discharged from the hospital on Thursday and is scheduled to fly back to Hyderabad on Friday. The BCCI did not provide a definitive timeline for his rehab, but it is expected that Verma will be sidelined for at least 4 weeks, making him a doubt for the T20 World Cup opener against the US on February 7th. Star batter Shreyas Iyer has been given the green signal to join the squad for the 3-match series against New Zealand. Starting Sunday, Shreyas was included in the 15-member squad for the ODI series, but his participation was subject to fitness clearance. Shreyas, who was hospitalized with internal bleeding from a spleen laceration, will link up with the Indian squad on Friday after proving his match fitness in the 50-over Vijay Hazare Trophy. Priyanka Chopra Jonas is trading the modern world for the high seas. The global star has unveiled the first official look at her upcoming Hollywood film, The Bluff, featuring a raw and fierce portrayal of her character, Ursula Bloody Mary Borden. Directed by Frank E. Flowers and produced by the Russo brothers, the action-adventure is set to premiere on Prime Video on February 25th. Bruno Mars has announced that his new album, The Romantic, is set to release on February 27th. This will be his 4th studio album and first solo outing since 24K Magic, which dropped in 2016. He last released a project in 2021 as one half of Silk Sonic alongside Anderson .Paak with the record An Evening with Silk Sonic, which earned them Grammys for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best R&B Performance and Best R&B Song. Though Mars has been out of the spotlight as a solo artist, he spent 2025 dominating the charts with various collaborations. That's it on this edition of Speed News. News and updates will continue on the other side of this short break. Keep watching WION World is One.